And let's pick things up right there with tonight's political insider. Joining me now, Adam Wollner, staff correspondent for National Journal Hotline. Adam, we'll start with the primary contests and caucuses that were held over the weekend. On the left, Senator Bernie Sanders winning Kansas, Nebraska, and Maine. Hillary Clinton winning Louisiana. What's the overall impact here?
Right. In short, really, the race didn't change a whole lot this weekend. And that's just because there weren't a whole lot of delegates at stake in these contests we saw over the weekend. In fact, even though Bernie Sanders actually won 3 of the 4 states, Hillary Clinton increased her overall delegate lead slightly because she won by such a large margin in Louisiana, and the Democrats allocate their delegates proportionally. So really now the race is going to move to some bigger, more diverse states, and this is where we're going to find out whether Bernie Sanders can actually keep up with Hillary Clinton. We move to Michigan on Tuesday. Next week there will be Florida, Ohio, Illinois, some states where black voters and other minority voters will play a big role. And so far, Bernie Sanders has failed to show that he can make inroads with those types of voters. That's why in some of the states over the weekend that he won, those were caucus states where white and more liberal voters played a more outside role. So he's going to have to prove he can expand on his base if he really wants to be able to take on Hillary Clinton in the long run.
And we saw the two of them hitting the debate stage on Sunday night in Flint, Michigan. The auto industry served as one flashpoint. What do you make of the debate? Who do you think emerged as the winner?
Right. So it was interesting to see the auto industry bailout kind of come up in this race for really the first time. And it's no surprise it came up in Michigan, of course, home to the Motor City. And Hillary Clinton criticized Bernie Sanders for his vote on a package that would have provided funding for the auto industry. Now, Bernie Sanders says he voted against that package because it also included funding for Wall Street banks, which of course he is vehemently opposed to. So even though he supported the auto bailout, he didn't vote for this specific package. And, you know, and Bernie Sanders right now is down in Michigan, and this is something that certainly made headlines both nationally and in Michigan and doesn't help his cause, and it looks like he's down double digits. And he was really on the defensive for most of the debate, and I think this was the performance Hillary Clinton wanted going into Tuesday, where she hopes she can continue to build on her delegate lead and really have this nomination close to wrapped up by the middle or end of the month.
And how important is Michigan to these candidates?
Well, Michigan is the biggest delegate prize on Tuesday. Mississippi also votes for both parties, and the Republicans are also having contests in Idaho and Hawaii. But Michigan is certainly a state where basically every candidate has paid a visit to over the past few days. And but of course, the nomination for both parties won't be decided on March 8th, and a lot of candidates are looking forward to March 15th. That's going to be the day where Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton either really solidify their status as frontrunners and really have a clear path to the nomination, or we start to see the race stretch on for another few months.
On the right, Senator Ted Cruz notched a few more wins this weekend. He won primaries in Kansas and Maine and finished a close second to Donald Trump in Kentucky and Louisiana. So what is the picture here? What are we seeing?
Well, I think Ted Cruz really asserted himself as the clear number 2 candidate in this race and the most viable alternative to Donald Trump. That's an argument he's been making for a while now, and I think he certainly bolstered his case for that over the weekend. And a second interesting point here, I think, is that Donald Trump is actually continuing to struggle in some states that hold closed elections, meaning that they are only open to registered Republicans. There are some states in which independents and even Democrats can cast ballots. Donald Trump, who has relied on bringing a lot of new voters into the party, has thrived in those types of states, but in all 4 contests over the weekend, they were closed only to registered Republicans. So we saw Ted Cruz win 2 of those states. He came in a close second in the other 2. So I think over time, Ted Cruz certainly hopes this will become a 2-man race. I don't think any of the other Republican candidates will be getting out anytime soon. But for the time being, Ted Cruz has become the number 2 candidate here to Donald Trump, and we'll see how he does in Michigan and going forward into Florida and Ohio and some other big states that are coming up on the primary calendar.
All right, speaking of those other candidates, let's talk about the 2 other remaining Republican candidates. Senator Marco Rubio, who won in Puerto Rico. Was that an important win for him?
It was in the sense that he was able to win all 23 delegates for the territory. Now, I don't know if it's going to tell us anything more about how he's going to do in Florida or any other state. But really, on March 15th, Florida is a major state for Marco Rubio. It's obviously his home state, and he needs to win here to continue on.
And what about Governor John Kasich, who has not won any contest at this point? Should he drop out?
Well, it's a similar story for John Kasich. He needs to win his home state of Ohio on March 15th. Both Ohio and Florida are winner-take-all states, and there are a lot of delegates in play. So if John Kasich or Marco Rubio are able to win those states, they certainly have an argument to make that they can stay in this contest for some time. But if Donald Trump wins one or even both of those states, it's going to be really tough to top him, and there's a good chance he could end this thing with the number of delegates he needs to capture the nomination. And it would also lessen the chance of a contested convention. But if Trump loses both of those states, this could be a contest that goes all the way to the convention this summer.
Adam Wollner, staff correspondent for National Journal Hotline. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.